Good morning, everyone, and you are all very welcome to today's session. My name is Geraldine O'Reilly, and I work at Clio as the UK Regional Marketing Manager. I'm delighted to be bringing you today's event, our 9th in our year-long Making of a Law Firm series. So starting a law firm is tough, and building your firm is even tougher. So we decided to support the community via a monthly event series that has been running throughout 2021. And follows 4 law firm leaders who are all on the road to building new and successful UK law firms. All four having been established in 2020. Today and throughout the year, it would be really appreciated if you could share your support for our series and for our leaders on social media using the hashtag Making a Law Firm. Our leaders are kindly taking time out of running very busy startups to come and share their experiences with the community, so they deserve a thank you here and there along the way. This morning, we have asked 3 of our 4 leaders from the series to rejoin us. And for those of you who have been following along, you are probably very familiar with them at this point. But for those of you who haven't been following along and are new to our series, I'm delighted to spend a moment introducing them all. First up, we have Kim Cross, partner at Vine Law. So Kim is a solicitor who initially qualified in Australia and moved to the UK in 2009, along with co-founders Melinda Smith and Kat Collins. Kim started Vine Law in 2020 with the mission to build a firm that focuses on providing exceptional client service and is a great place to work. We've also got Elena Manukyan, partner at the Injury Solicitor. In 2020, after seeing that legal services could be delivered from almost anywhere, Elena decided to launch her own firm. Specializing in personal injury law and being a small firm, Elena is able to offer clients a personalized service, which you simply don't get from larger firms. Natalie Foster is also joining us. Natalie is founder of Foster CLEO Law, and Natalie co-founded Foster CLEO in 2020 with the mission to have a friendly, forward-thinking law firm that provides excellent professional service to individuals and businesses, both locally and nationally. Natalie saw a gap in the market for a firm offering digital legal services. And we're also delighted to have Scott Simmons joining us. So Scott is someone who turns lawyers into rainmakers. And Scott is director of Legal Balance Limited. And just a little bit of background on Scott. So after a successful career in law where he faced similar situations to the lawyers of today, Scott discovered a love of coaching and training that has seen him spend the last 8 years coaching young professionals on how to build their own careers, as well as more senior executives on how to become rainmakers. So Scott is a husband and a father and also an avid film lover. So don't be surprised when he includes a business development analogy related to Jaws or Harry Met Sally. I hope you all brought your popcorn today and have it at the ready just in case those do come up. So welcome, Scott, and thank you for joining us. So as I mentioned, I work at Clio, and Clio is on a mission to transform the legal experience for all. When we say all, we don't just mean lawyers or solicitors. We mean staff working at firms, those you consult with on matters, and also clients, both existing and prospective clients too. So this summer, Clio announced some exciting news, the addition of CLEO Grow to our offering worldwide. So CLEO Grow enables law firms to deliver a more client-centered experience by automating the entire client intake process. So quite relevant for today's topic. With CLEO Grow's CRM software, you will be able to engage and retain new clients in a matter of moments. You can connect it to your website by adding intake forms and even your calendar, so both Outlook and Google, for easier scheduling, saving time and duplication. Finally, as Edmund Burke once said, good order is the foundation of all things. So with CLEO Grow, you can organize contacts with customizable tags. So searching and filtering your contact lists is a breeze. And you also get access to your entire database whenever and wherever you are, as it's all cloud-based. Now, if you're looking at the typical client journey, it looks a little bit like this. So you've got marketing, intake, and lead conversion at the start. You've got the case then begins, case is resolved and is billed. Obviously, it can sometimes be longer or shorter periods there. And then finally, you've got reviews and referrals that come next. So hopefully you'll have happy clients that will be reviewing and giving you positive satisfaction scores and referrals, more clients coming in. So CLEO Grow is very much focused on that first part of the journey, from marketing through conversion. So before the client actually becomes a client or a matter is opened. So it's focused on helping clients become, or prospective clients become clients. One feature within CLEO Grow that is very relevant for today's topic is the conversion and referral reporting. With it, you can see the data behind your firm's performance with an in-depth reporting on what's actually driving revenue from this easy-to-use dashboard. So you can identify top performing firm members, referral sources, client types, all to improve your firm's profitability and get an understanding of your firm's overall conversion rate. So the more you know, the more you can do. As well as CLEO Grow, we also have CLEO Manage, which is actually our core legal case management software. So it really helps with the second stage of the journey. So managing clients as they, when they come in and they're gone through the intake process, they then become clients, organizing cases and automating tedious tasks such as month-end billing. CLEO Manage includes unlimited document storage as well, and over 80 integration partners like the likes of Xero, QuickBooks, InfoTrack, NetDocuments, the list goes on and is always being added to. I also wanted to highlight that we know we won't achieve our mission to transform the legal experience for all alone. And that is why we work with over 66 law societies and bar associations worldwide, including the Law Society of England and Wales, a relationship that has been in place since 2018. And we also work with the Law Society of Scotland, and we have worked with them since 2016. On top of all this, you just need to look at some of the recent ratings that have been released. So CLEO has consistently been rated at the top of our field by our users and your peers. You just need to look at some of them. So Capterra, for instance, we've been named as top performer for numerous legal software categories, including legal document management, legal case management, practice management, accounting and billing. G2 Crowd, similar, and software advice, we have been named as a front runner. So all of that information is very much available for free online as well, so you can do your search and your due diligence there as well. Now, I would like to get back to our topic of discussion this morning. So, Scott, if you're ready, take two.
Thanks so much, Geraldine. So hello, yes, I'm Scott Simmons, and as Geraldine said before, I'm a toolbox for turning lawyers into rainmakers. So I provide lawyers with tips, techniques, strategies to go out into the marketplace, give your best advice and win more work. I coach clients on subjects including mindset, leadership, culture, habits. I train lawyers in how to sell and cross-sell, to network confidently and give presentations that not only people remember, but actually make other lawyers jealous. And I help law firms develop strategies for growth, and then most importantly, take those strategies to market to help them build organically as the foundation for the future. Now, today, I'm going to get us started by talking very briefly about three topics. Number one is the landscape that the legal industry finds itself in that is demanding change. Number two is the difference between marketing and business development. And number three is the 9 principles that I use to teach and coach lawyers to improve their business development skills. So kind of let's get cracking, so we don't have much time. So we need to look at why lawyers need to learn how to sell legal services in the 21st century. The industry is changing at a pace like never before, and there are factors that have come up on the screen that are forcing this change. So let's get straight into it. Increased competition. Increased competition requires a differentiation that can no longer be met by claiming to have a USP. Next up is technology, and that's particularly, I'm thinking of the advancement of AI. And all this means that law firms have to understand not just the traditional sectors, but how technology is impacting them. Number three, the new generation of business owners. Now, New businesses are being created every single day by a new generation of owners that expect their lawyers to be reflective of who they are and how they work. Number 4 is agile working. Now, COVID-19 has only really sped up what was becoming increasingly inevitable, and that's the need for flexible working and a workforce that can and is allowed to work from anywhere. Number 5 is equality. 25% of high growth companies are female-led. 48% of startup loans advanced by the British Business Bank to London companies alone since 2012 are led by members of the BAME community. Now, these trends are raising questions that the legal industry needs to consider. And they're things like, how do we differentiate our offering in a time of increased competition? How do we keep up with the changes that technology is bringing about and understand the various disruptors? And how do we better reflect the changing leadership in our own client base and those new businesses that we want to engage with? Now, these trends and those like them, they're forcing a discussion and they're requiring change that needs to happen now. Those law firms that don't make changes are being left behind in a new technological age. And it starts with understanding those, it kind of starts with understanding and empowering your teams to understand your clients better, prospects better, by learning those skills that we just haven't been taught, but they are absolutely vital nowadays. The first thing we have to do is understand the difference between marketing and business development. A number of years ago, a brilliant woman, my wife, explained the difference to me like this. She said, marketing is drawing the horse to water, business development is making it drink. And marketing is all those activities that spark an interest in a law firm and attract leads. So I'm thinking about things like brand building, advertising, social media, even this webinar. They're all forms of promotion that speak to larger groups of people. Last month, absolutely fantastic Amelia Sordell, she talked about personal branding. That is marketing. We're looking at business development, and business development is what you do to convert those leads into clients. It's relationship management on a much smaller scale, digging deeper with individuals or smaller groups, scoping conversations, it's the pitch, the tender. It's understanding your client's goals and understanding their needs in order to find solutions. And I can't tell you how important it is that we make this distinction between marketing and business development, because very often when we say business development, what we actually end up talking about is marketing. And I want everyone to have that in mind when we're having this discussion today. So next, we have to understand what business development is in the 21st century. Because let's be honest, business development is selling. No matter how you want to argue it, BD is selling. It's not selling in that door-to-door sense. We're not trying to persuade clients to buy things they don't need. This isn't The Wolf of Wall Street, no matter how wonderful that film is. 21st century business development is what we call consultative selling. It's getting to know your clients so that you can give them what they need, even sometimes when they don't realize they need. And a perfect example of this is a client comes to their lawyer to talk about their business. The lawyer checks out their website and discovers that it doesn't have any privacy policies, GDPR advice, website terms and conditions. It's a lawyer's job to educate their client on the need for those things. But lawyers don't feel dirty doing that. They don't feel like they're tricking them into having them. And yet what the lawyer was doing was selling. So what we need to do is break out of this idea that lawyers don't sell. You do, and it's as simple as that. We have to reframe things. Selling is business development. Business development is consultative selling. And really importantly here, consultative selling is serving your clients. If you think about it like that, you're never going to have to sell again. But now we need to learn the principles of how to sell in the 21st century, because this is the key to how the legal industry moves forward. Geraldine, can you just get up the next slide, please?
Scott, just wondering if you happen to have some headset, because you're cutting in and out a little bit, just a little bit when you're moving around. It seems to be when, I don't know how, but when you're moving your hands, it cuts out a little bit.
Apologies, I'm big on hands, so I'm going to try and stop that. Let me just see if I can get these on so that, and I will try and keep my hands still.
No worries. It's probably just a coincidence.
Sorry, just bear with me.
No problem.
Okay. I'm going to keep my hands still. So, simply put, selling is split into 9 parts. It's what I call precision selling. It's what I teach my clients. So I'll take you through them very, very quickly, each of them. So the first one's pitch. It's being able to articulate your value proposition in an elevator. Next up, we've got research, and that's undertaking research into your existing clients and your prospects. Third up, we've got encounter. That's the methods that we use to make contact. And we've got challenge, and it's the type of relationship we want with our clients. Number 5 is investigation. That's asking the right questions to get the right information to give the best advice. After that, we've got silence. Understanding the importance of really, truly listening without any pretense. After that, you've got indecision. This is how we handle objections and what they really mean. After that, we've got open for closing. That's getting a commitment from your client. But it doesn't necessarily mean getting them to buy. And lastly, and what I have to say is most important in all of this, is what I call normality. And that is making sales, making business development a part of your firm's culture. It has to become part of what we do on a day-to-day basis. And the reason for that is these principles are what every lawyer needs to learn as we move into this new era for the legal profession. These are no longer soft skills. They're the most essential skills a lawyer can have. You'll never, ever hear me refer to them as soft skills. They're always essential skills or human skills. Lawyers, we can't continue to be the last to the party. We've got to stop being a commodity that can be easily discarded by clients and beaten down on fees. We've got to be a strategic advisor, a trusted advisor. We've got to be those advisors that clients feel are an important part of every strategic decision that they make. And this is the same whether they come to us as an individual or as a corporate client. And once you understand 21st century consultative selling, you then have to manage your leads and clients. So for this, you're going to need a CRM system. And the reason you're going to need a CRM system is so that you can regularly update and report on where your clients and prospects are in the sales process. Geraldine, can we get the next slide, please? Okay, so here is a sales funnel. And this is a snapshot in time that shows every lead that you hold. Now, you might have 300 leads. If you're doing your business development regularly enough, you can have as many as 300 leads. You might only have 5. But either way, you can see what your next action should be and when. So the example we've got up here is a live sales funnel that Legal Balance has with one of its clients. Now, in actual fact, there are 9 stages. There's 9 stages in this funnel, but for the purposes of this, I'm only showing you 5. If I click on any of those stages, I can see every prospect who's in that particular stage and what action I need to perform next. Okay, I can see when the last contact was and what we said and what I agreed to do, what the client agreed to do. Now, CRM can often be a stick to beat me, to beat lawyers. We should use it because we've got it, because we need the client information in there. But actually, here's why it is important. How do you expect to build trust with clients and prospects if you can't keep your word? How can you keep your word if you can't easily find your last contact point and what your agreed actions were. So that right there is why CRM and sales funnels are so important. They help you achieve consistency. They help you professionalize your BD approach. So that's my opener for this discussion.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott. Really appreciate that and the insights there. I think it's really set the scene for our discussion now. So I'd like to invite Natalie, Kim and Elena to join us now. You can unmute your mics and we'll get into our discussion. And just a reminder to folks, if you do have questions, please do pop them into the chat and we will we'll cover off on them as we go through our session. So Natalie, I would like to come to you first. All of you have set up firms in 2020, but did you realize when setting up your firm that business development and particularly selling would be as vital as and as important to business success?
I did, and I think my previous roles have contributed to that. When you're starting up a brand or a firm in any professional service and you don't have a shop window or a website with your products dangling there waiting to entice people to buy, what you're selling is your care and your personality and your approach. And we knew that starting from absolute scratch would be a challenge. What we were very keen on doing is supporting the lawyers that came with us in being able to advocate our brand and share it for us. And then that association with their goodwill as practitioners made very good moves really for clients to come to us. I appreciate that the majority of startup firms are sole practitioners or perhaps a slightly smaller operation than us in terms of people. But for us, the starting point, without a doubt, was get your brand and get your website. Those were the two key things because that's your gateway to accessing the market. So yeah, the whole focus was on BD. And before we even got PII, before we even got our license, before we even knew we could trade, I was planting seeds with various business partners and whoever I could, informing them as to what our message was and what we were going to do and when we were going to do it, because we didn't want to overpromise and under-deliver on time, which was really fundamental because it meant as soon as the doors open, we have matters to open.
Thank you, Natalie. Elena, coming to you because you are running a firm on your own. Was selling required from day one for you, or did you have a list of clients you already had lined up and ready to go?
So yeah, similar to Natalie, I sort of started thinking, and you get this time because of the way the nature of law firms, the way you set them up, you actually have a lot of time to start planning because the whole SRA authorization process can take, mine took 6 weeks, but they say on average it's going to be 3 to 6 months. So you actually have a lot of time to start planning and trying to get ahead, I guess, a little bit, because you want to, hit the ground running from the first day that you can trade. So I started, I was still working in, a full-time role at the time, so it was really tricky, but I sort of started putting the feelers out and, speaking to people, letting my neighbors know, what I was going to be doing. I'm a personal injury solicitor. I started getting myself out of my comfort zone, and that's what selling has been for me. It's really stepping outside of my comfort zone, because where I'd worked in personal injury law for 10 years before, I never really had to sell myself or my services. My firms did have bonuses. So if you brought a claim in, then they gave you like £450. So it does get that does sort of motivate you to, bring work in, but it didn't really motivate me enough because there was always so much work. So to me, that was just adding more work to already a huge caseload. So even that didn't really incentivize me as much. But when you start your own business, it's completely different. Like, you have to sell yourself, you have to tell your friends, you have to tell your family. When I walk down my street, I know most of the neighbors here know me as the injury solicitor. Like, oh, she's personal injury solicitor. So that's a nice way of putting it. You've got the other people who take a different view of it, but yeah, you start selling yourself, and it comes back to a lot of like the personal branding bit, where I named my company the Injury Solicitor because I wanted the name to sell itself, and it starts from there. It starts with my company name and then it builds on, but obviously that's like, you know, the marketing bit, and then it comes on to the sales. So I had a few clients waiting for me to launch. One of them materialized, the other one didn't. So and then you launch and you're like, gosh, I've got to get loads of clients through the door. You start the marketing works, and whether it's social media, LinkedIn, your website, but that's just one part. The rest is the actual selling part, and that's something that I had to learn very quickly on the job. From the first conversation with the client, what do they respond to? What are they reactive to? What don't they like hearing? And how can I rephrase that? For example, like, I'm a no win, no fee solicitor. So explain that to clients, put that across to them, because so many people don't realize that it's a no, you know, there's no win, no fee available. They ask me what my charges are and what my hourly rate is. Like, it doesn't really work like that. So it's finding those points early on and working on those. And I think really sort of personalizing your sales pitch to your clients. And you can only really do that from really drawing on your experience.
Practice makes perfect. Scott, coming to you just on, for those early days of setting up, how much time should be spent on marketing, and how much time is actually spent on sales, or should be spent on sales and selling into potentially, it could be an existing pipeline that's built up or not?
You know, in those early days, building your pipeline is hugely important, and you've got to keep it going consistently. So having the time to do your marketing and to following that up, because remember what we're talking about here is, what we're talking about is, you know, marketing to entice people to communicate with you, to come and find you, and then it's closing those people down. And you've got to be doing that from day one, and you've got to give it the time that it needs. So my feeling would be, give it as much time as you absolutely can. It's got to be part of the day job. As I said before, it's got to be part of your day job. It should be something you're doing every single day. Getting people to notice who you are. If you just take a look at what the likes of Kim and Elena and Natalie are doing, they're promoting themselves and they're promoting their businesses. That's marketing, and doing that as often as possible with as much of your time is really important. Then getting people to speak to you and understanding them and working out those needs and goals, spending that time with them in order to bring them on board as clients. That's how your business survives and thrives. So you've got to give it as much time as possible.
Kim, I'm going to come to you now, because you shared some interesting facts on our prep call around the steps that you've taken to kind of adapt a selling mindset, not just for you, but your firm. Could you talk a little bit more about that and the learnings you've had?
Yeah, it's been an interesting process, because I think, so Scott was talking about the changing landscape, and I think that a lot of firms are requiring people to network, is the word they always use, network and get out there and meet people. And obviously the goal behind that is selling or getting new clients or whatever. But what you don't get a lot is how to do that. And lawyers will say, oh, I'm not a salesperson, and you're kind of talking yourself into it. You know, you that becomes part of who you are. Like, oh, I'm a lawyer, I can't sell. And like, or with numbers. So lawyers say that a lot. Oh, I'm not very good with numbers because I'm a lawyer. And it's something that you start to believe about yourself, but it's not true. Like, you know, a lot of lawyers are fairly, I guess, introverted people with our noses in books. But also, although we get a bad rep, we're quite kind people, I think, generally, and good people. And so the selling part, I think, is just something that we're not taught. And so when we realized, I mean, obviously you need to keep the cash flow going and the sales pipeline, and So part of what we did was to learn how to do that, because it's not something that we'd ever known before. And I accidentally came across some sales training. It wasn't even something that I intentionally sought out, but I just came across a video that showed me the pipeline funnel that you were talking about. And that was really, really interesting. And actually I showed it to everybody else in the firm as well, because it made me realize that selling is not just like finding a list of people and ringing them up and saying, do you need anything? Or, you know, and then if you don't get it, then that's the end of it, you know, or you've failed in some way, because that's not how it works. But you're not taught that. So what it actually is a long process that starts with just thinking about what it is that you've got to sell, what makes it different to someone else, how much you think that it's worth. So what are you going to sell it for? Identifying people who might be interested, getting in contact with them if you can, and just meeting people. Or, you know, if you and you don't have to make an appointment with someone and go along and say, this is what I'm selling, and then you've got to sell it to them then, or even try and sell it to them then, and then if they don't take it, that's the end of it. It's just a process and a pipeline. You know, maybe you don't even sell anything on that first instance. You just go and meet them and explain what it is, and then, you know, you in a week or so you follow up, and then it might be later down the line that you have something that's of interest to them. So learning about that process and having this pipeline of potential work, and like making sure that you stay on top of it, was something that we learned, and which is just I think it's just something that everybody should know and everyone should be taught now. It just makes it so much easier as well when you know what the process is. It's the same as anything else that we do. There's a process involved. You know, there are professional salespeople out there, and they can teach you how to do these things.
How have you been, you know, coaching or training the rest of your team, or have they been coaching or training you on their approaches around selling, or how do you share tips there?
So I just did the old-fashioned, everyone sits in the kitchen, we have a big whiteboard, and I drew the sale process out for them, and everyone was sort of sitting there going, oh my god, that makes total sense, and just watching this visual of how the process works and all of the contact points, where the contact points are, and why it's important to follow up after something, and then what happens at this point and this point. What it also did was let us then look at that journey that the client has. So this is something that I'd never really come across before, or that's something that I've given thought to, is that thinking about how the client comes to you in the first place, what it is that looking, where else they went first before they came to you, what it is that they want from you, and how they experience it. And so by going through that, just that little bit of training with our people, it then started making us think about, okay, well, what products have we got, or services are we selling? You know, where are the clients coming to us? How are they coming to us? And what is their experience like? And that was something that was really important, because each of us does sort of a different area of law, and so the experience of those clients is a little bit different. So it's important for each different sort of departmental area of law to understand why their clients are coming to you and where they're coming from. So that was a good process as well. So it opened up a lot of other conversations too.
Natalie, at your firm, who does the selling at your firm? Is it you? Is it your co-founder? Is it everybody?
It's by far, without a doubt, is a joint effort. I think there's different tiers of who is the first point of contact, and as Scott rightly alluded to, there's two different types of marketing and BD are two different things. In terms of the social media presence, we really try to advocate to anyone that's involved in the firm, like and share our posts, and make sure that you're associating yourself with the sector that you are claiming to be an expert in. So keeping up to date with the relevant legislation and news, which we should be doing anyway, but we all know takes time. If there's an article that's relevant to your client base or to your desired client base, get it shared. Don't share it as a link, because it'll take them away from your LinkedIn. Copy and paste it, put the link in the comments, and just make sure that your presence on there is showing that you are in the know about the matters that you can help your clients with. And even if it's a subconscious thing, which very often it is, you will be linked with that sort of work. I had 2 phone calls this morning while doing the school run about commercial leases. Can you do a commercial lease? Yes, I can do a commercial lease. And I'm driving, you know, and that's where the best business comes from. It's the knee-jerk reactions to a WhatsApp or a message on LinkedIn. And how hungry you are for the business depends on what your response is. If you're going to sit there and go, oh, well, I'm in the middle of doing a lease report, I can probably get back to them at 1:30. They've already rung 3 other lawyers by the time you've got back in touch. You get the message, they're messaging you because knee-jerk, they want a response there and then. And if you want the work, pick it up. It doesn't mean that you're neglecting your other clients. It's just a way it's prioritizing. And then in terms of going back to your original question, which is, you know, how many people, who gets involved, the BD, the social media, and the seeds that I was talking about of planting, going to a networking event, you know, it's all, it sounds as though it's aggressive. The word sales sounds aggressive. You don't go in hardcore with, this is what I do, here's my card. People love to talk about themselves, clearly. People love to talk about themselves. So ask people questions. What do you do? How did you get started? What have you found challenging? Once you're seen to be taking a keen interest in their personal circumstances, which inevitably are linked to their professional circumstances, if they're a business owner, which is the B2B part, they feel that they can talk to you. You're building trust. They maybe share these chat. Oh, I need to give you a ring actually, but now's not the time. That is where your long-standing clients come from. B2B tends to be very repeat business. And then obviously with personal clients, it's the subconscious association of, oh, moving house. Oh, I'll give Natalie a ring. Or obviously if it's a UK-wide client, it'll be our info to Foster CLEO Law, because they're always posting how they deal with conveyancing in a smart way. So yeah, everybody is involved. The key thing is as well, which I'm sure Scott will talk about, is it's great getting those calls in. Who converts it? All of your front-facing staff need to be able to convert the work. So if you've got somebody who's got out of bed the wrong side of that day, or they are in the middle of doing a dictation, or there is a court bundle that needs doing there and then, that's not the right person to be allocating on reception or to be dealing with that work if you do have a reception. Get the person who can get the job done and close it and get that client bought into your firm on the phone, because it's not a waste of time. It will be the best productive time and money ever spent. It tends to be myself, or there's 2 other individuals that are administrators who are fantastic at customer facing, who know our services inside out, who will ask and get the information on the client and go, look, we'll get someone to ring you, and within an hour we've got their details on the system, best case scenario. So the conversion is a crucial part. Otherwise, all of the effort that you're doing on LinkedIn, that you're doing everywhere else, is a big fat waste of time, because you're not getting the client into a position where they think, right, someone's got that, someone's taking care of that for me, which is where we want them to be.
Exactly. I think, Kim, you mentioned it on a previous call as well, solutioning as opposed to selling. So solutioning for your client as opposed to that
I think
selling approach.
The word sales has got just a negative connotation, doesn't it? It's not. So when I say, you know, we're out there selling, it's not a case of selling people things that they don't need, or trying to do anything like that. That's not what any of us are about. It's about, and I think we touched on this before, about making people aware of what the law can do for them, or how it can protect them and benefit them. It's there. It's a tool to be used. You know, a lot of the time it's defensive, but we can also be really proactive about it. And if you don't know, you can just find out what people need just having a conversation with them. So I think that yeah, I've lost the question. What did you ask me again?
No worries. It was more just a solutioning of like having that.
Yeah. We were talking before about how like the clients don't necessarily know what it is that they want. Like they don't come to you and say, I need this thing, I need this contract, I need this document. They just have a problem and they want you to fix it. So it's about, I think, communicating to clients in a way where you can listen to what their issue is, and then whatever it is that they need to solve that issue, that's what you then are able to get for them, you know, provide them with. They don't, it's up to us to tell them what it is, what that product is, what that service is, but it's about listening to what their issue is, finding out what their aim is, and then deciding what the services that they need or the document that they need, rather than saying, oh, I want to sell 100 employment contracts. It's not the point. Like it's about finding out what people need and then deciding what's the best thing for them to get there. So that's what we were talking about.
Okay, I'd like to change just tack a little, and Natalie, you kind of brought it up in your answer there around B2C and B2B selling, and like the solicitor, the SRA has a pretty strict code of conduct when it comes to selling and unsolicited approaches to members of the public. With the exception of current, I'm just reading it here, current or former clients, in order to advertise legal services provided by you or your business or employer. Like that's pretty strict. How do you build a pipeline then, especially in a B2C world? Elena, I'll come to you on it. Like you're in a B2C world, you primarily deal with individuals.
All my clients are individuals, so I don't really have any experience of B2B selling. I don't work with any businesses, so all my clients are consumers. In a way, it makes it a little bit easier to sell because you've only got to sell to that person. You've not got to sell to a person and then, you know, their boss and their boss behind them. You've just got to sell your services and yourself to that one individual. And sometimes that then means, you know, if it's a car accident, you've got the driver and actually I had 3 passengers. Suddenly one claim is then 4. So it works that way as well. That works very well. But the rules around unsolicited contact with clients, I only fully understood it and appreciated it when I launched my business, because I never had to sell it. I never had to approach anybody to try and sell my services when I was employed. So when I launched and then I saw these regulations that actually prevent me from really approaching people who might be injured and saying, by the way, did you know you can make a claim? So for example, I could be sat on a bus or on a train and could overhear somebody talking, saying, you know, they were really badly injured. I cannot turn around and say, by the way, you know, you can make a claim, I'm a solicitor. That's prohibited. And that protects basically members of the public. And I completely respect that. And I understand that, because the last thing people want, if people don't want the calls, you know, we've been, you know, have you been in an accident? Imagine that happening face to face. Solicitors can't do that. Now, 10 months on in my business, I fully respect that. And you've, you know, and that's fine. You've just got to put out content on social media and wait for the clients to come to you. Because just because somebody might have had an accident, they might never want to claim. So actually, it doesn't make that much of a difference. It's just about being clever in terms of the way you market your services and, you know, make it far reaching so that people can see your message, see that you're there, you're available to help. And I guess the other side as well is, like, for example, if like a bus crashes into like a block of flats, so we are prohibited from then sending out marketing material to that block of flats because that would be targeted marketing. So you can't do that. However, what you could do is you could send out marketing material to the whole postcode or to the whole region and hope that there's no issue with that, because that's then not targeted. It just so happens that there's an accident that's happened there. But in reality, is it something that bothers solicitors? No, not really. Is that, you know, is that how people get their work? Not necessarily. It's far better to have, you know, a wider reaching marketing campaign, or to, you know, put out content on social media and get the clients coming to you, because just because there's been an accident doesn't mean they're looking for a solicitor or they want to make a claim.
Yeah. Scott, do you have any tips for those firms who are finding it difficult to increase pipeline, especially those early days? What levers could they pull, or is it all about that marketing?
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's about getting your messaging right in marketing. And it is so important. I think we have to remember social media has democratized marketing. It has made marketing available to absolutely everybody who is prepared to use it. And we should be taking full advantage of that. Those people who use social media to do their marketing, they're getting the best advantage from it. But you also have to remember that, you know, in your early days, you've got contacts that you have built up left, right, and center. You need to be reaching out to those contacts and saying to them, this is what I'm doing. People want to help you build your business. You know, it's not a remarkable thing. People want people to succeed. And so you reach out to your contacts, you let them know what you're doing, and they will want to help. So it's really, really important in those early days. And then it comes back to what happens when people make contact. And everything that Kim and Elena and Natalie have said is so true, and it's so vital. You've gone to all of that, you've gone to that time and effort to build your brand. Now it's about being able to close people. It's about being able to build those relationships, understand that client base, that contact base, that perspective, that prospect base, ask those questions, glean those insights, provide insights. There's still a problem in the legal industry where we think the only time that we should give out any kind of information is when a client is paying for it. That is not a good way to be doing things. You've got to be giving clients and prospective clients insights into what's going on for them, into their world, into their being, so that they see you as somebody that is knowledgeable, is trustworthy, and is going to help them. That's so important.
Thank you, Scott. I'm gonna we've only got about 10 minutes left, and we haven't touched on a big subject, and that is pricing. And yeah, I can see you all smiling there. I hope it's a good smile. So yeah, wanted to touch on pricing. Again, the SRA has strict guidelines on pricing transparency. But just in general, like when you're starting out, how do you even come up with what price you're going to charge for your services? Kim, coming to you on that one. What did you look at when you were setting up, and you have them quite open? You have a lot of your pricing actually quite open on your website. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so pricing is tough, and it's something that we still struggle with. So I think what we've tried to do is to, like you say, to be as transparent as possible, and to get away from the standard sort of hourly rate you know, vagueness, where it's like, this is my hourly rate and it's something like this or something like that. So whenever we can sort of settle on a fixed fee, then we'll do that. And those types of things we tend to just put on the website, because that's what we've decided and we're going to stick by it, you know, and we can monitor those things. So if we're finding that we've put that fixed price there and we've set it too low, then we'll change it. You know, it's not the end of the world. But also coming around to other ideas like using things like no win, no fee agreements, and you know, for us as lawyers to have some skin in the game, I think is something that we don't have with an hourly rate. You just charge an hourly rate, you take however long it takes. It's a little bit vague, they get a bill, you know, so we try and move away from those things. But it is difficult when you come to setting fixed prices or hourly rates, or how much should this cost, you know. But we work on it all the time. So if we can put a transaction, and rather than running a transaction on an hourly rate, we'll do it on a fixed fee. And that gives the client certainty, and it also gives us that skin in the game, because we have to be efficient. You know, we need to make sure that our tech is good, that our systems are good, that we use proper workflows, that we're not wasting our time, that we're not wasting clients' time. So the pricing element also makes us better lawyers, because it makes us think about the full package, the full service that the clients are getting. And I think all of these things actually go together to make us better lawyers. The networking, the listening, the thinking about pricing in a way that's not just about, this is my hourly rate, take it or leave it, but thinking about your competitiveness in the market, the value of the service that you're providing. So the value might not have any relation to the hourly rate. So there are a lot of different ways that you can come on pricing, and if you really think about it, it has a way of setting you apart from other firms, and also making you put yourself in the client's shoes, which in turn makes you understand them, which in turn makes you listen to them, and in turn makes you a better advisor.
Have you noticed clients paying attention to the prices up, and would they reference it more?
I'm not sure how much the prices on the website actually draw people in. We do get some kickback sometimes. You give them the price and they say, oh, that's more than I was expecting, or more than other people charge. But there's there's something that pops up on Instagram every now and then, like a quote about, if a client says people charge less, and then you say, well, I've got clients who pay more. Have you heard that? I mean, and the thing, it's a difficult one to decide when to bend and when to let it walk away.
Yeah, I think I've seen the post you're referring to. It's like an artist where it's like, can I get that for cheaper? And then they give you like a stick drawing of a horse, or
yes,
yeah, of the painting of the horse.
Yeah.
Scott, have you got any tips there for that kind of objection handling when it comes to pricing?
Oh God, yeah. So that's more than I was expecting. Is it's what we hear all the time, and I learned this a number of years ago on a training course myself, and now I teach it to all of my clients, and it is this simple. You just shoot back with, really, I haven't heard that one before. What makes you think that? And you are then forcing the client to justify why they think you are so expensive. Now, the point of an objection isn't to try and tear you to pieces. The idea is to give you an opportunity to explain why you charge. And if you're focused on value, if you are focused on the reasons why you do what you do, the way that you do it, the technology, so many things that Kim has just mentioned. If you move the conversation away from price and into value, it changes everything. With residential conveyancing and fixed fee pricing, that sector had an opportunity to go down a totally different route. But what it unfortunately did was it went lower and lower and lower in pricing, and it stopped the conversation about why buying a property is the biggest investment you're likely to ever make, and you want to make sure that you are going to get it right. So doesn't it feel like you should spend the money to make sure you get the best service, and you get the best lawyers looking into any potential problems, because they are not fixated on how small the fee is going to be? We as an industry have failed to have that conversation with our clients. It's so important. And if there's something that I would say to people to take away from this conversation, think about what it is that you do, the value that you bring to every single client and to every single transaction. Write that down, say it over and over again, and then say it out loud to prospects and clients. Move the conversation away from price into value. Talk about why it's important that you do what you do. All of a sudden, price becomes a lot less important. But the starting point is, really? Don't hear that one very often. Why do you think that? It's a great way to get the conversation started.
Thank you, Scott. Great tip there. Elena, I want to come to you quickly just on something you brought up earlier around the pricing circle. I was wondering if you could explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the pricing circle is actually something that I only learned yesterday at a social event. And it's all to do with set your price. So this is something that new businesses in particular struggle with, because they're trying to work out whether they're too expensive or not expensive enough, so they're actually underselling themselves. And it can be really hard, because when you're brand new, you're scrambling around for new clients, so it's easy to actually start lowering your prices to get the clients in and then hope that it turns around. But actually what you're doing is you're creating bigger problems for you down the line. So what the pricing circle does is it basically gets you to figure out where you should be. So as a solicitor, our hourly rates are generally around £200 to £250. So if you know that that's the general sort of industry standard, then be quite comfortable, be quite confident with those prices. Yes, you can offer fixed fees, but obviously your fixed fees are going to be roughly based on how long it's going to take you and what the hourly rate would equate to. So generally, you might not be saying to a client it's going to be an hourly rate, but it's going to be a fixed fee. So you've still got to be comfortable with that, and your fixed fee would actually fall into the pricing circle. So you're not out there, you're not charging £500 an hour, and you're not charging £50 an hour. So you're underselling yourself. And it's about being comfortable, and it goes for any industry, not just legal. Be comfortable in that circle. Don't negotiate, because that just gives you more headaches later down the line. Like, for example, I'm a no-win, no-fee solicitor, so there's no legal charges for clients to worry about, but I will take up to 25% of somebody's final compensation award. And you wouldn't believe how many people will try and get you down on that percentage and say, no, will you take 10? And the answer is no. I have one client on my books that I've taken just less than 25%, and that's it, just one. And I say that, I can't do less than that, because, there's so much work that goes into a personal injury case. So, and often what happens is, the clients that will haggle you on price actually become really difficult clients anyway, and the issues aren't just the price, the issues will continue creeping up as the case progresses, and it can actually cause you a lot more headaches, and then you're not even getting paid for it properly. So yeah, put yourself in that circle, be confident, own that your position in that circle, and don't waver, because you know the industry inside out, and you know that it's a fair price to give.
Thanks, Elena. We're very close on time, so what I'm going to do is we'll probably run a couple of minutes over, just to give everyone a heads up, just maybe 2 or 3 minutes over. I want to quickly go around the room, or around the virtual room, for a tip from everybody on what tip you have for folks online who are looking to sell more. Natalie, I'll come to you first on that one.
People who are looking to sell more?
Yes.
Don't sell, inform would be my tip. You try, if you go in with the mindset of I need to sell, you're walking into a room or having a phone call cold, and you will never get a long-standing result. If you look to, as Scott said, add value, provide information and listen, it's highly likely that you will have then a secondary meeting or a second point of contact or a follow-up email saying, I really had a good chat and thought about what you said. I'd like you to do X, Y, and Z. So don't sell, inform, offer something.
Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate that. Kim, come to you quickly.
I don't know.
I can come back to you, or you can echo Natalie's. Elena, come to you next.
Yeah, for me personally, because I'm quite new to selling, is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable in that initial process. If it's something that you're coming to for the first time, just know that it's going to be uncomfortable at the initial stages, and then it gets easier. And every time you do it, and before you know it, you're saying all these words, like, where did that come from? And you've got another client in the bag. So yeah, get comfortable with being uncomfortable if you're new to selling.
Thank you, Elena. Scott?
So I hinted at it before. Stop seeing selling as the Wolf of Wall Street. That's not what we're doing here. Think about it as, serving clients. The reason I talk about selling the whole time is because if you want to take your learning further, you are not going to find books by using the words helping clients or serving clients. The way you are going to learn more about business development is by finding books on business development or selling. So, but the reality is that what we've talked about today is selling, it's business development, but the focus is on serving your clients. It's on providing those insights. It's about taking an interest in your clients. It's about picking up the phone and just asking them how they're doing. Because as we said earlier on, they're going to start talking, and eventually what they're talking about in their personal life is going to be impacted by what's going on in their work life and in their business. And the insights that you've got and the knowledge you've got and the contacts that you've got, if somebody mentioned something around that, why wouldn't you offer to help? That's all you're doing. You are, and it really is that simple.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that as well. Great feedback and tips from everybody. Thank you. And finally, just want to quickly thank our entertainment and our keynote speakers for today. Kim, Natalie, Elena, and Scott, thank you so much for all your knowledge and tips and learnings from your experiences, not only in your current firms, but in previous firms as well. So really do appreciate that, and lots of thanks and appreciation in the chat as well. So until next month, thank you everybody for